This is Aribullah reporting from London. We're joined by Bilal Abdul Kareem, who's the last foreign journalist left in Aleppo. Bilal, could you describe the situation right now?
The situation is very, very intense. Since 9 o'clock this morning, and this is after all of eastern Aleppo had been informed that there was a ceasefire and an agreement was in place between rebel forces and the Russians. However, at 9 o'clock this morning, the shelling resumed, and it resumed in a very, very intense way. Our area that we were in was hit by Grad rockets earlier today, and it continues. As you know, I did want to spend additional time or extra time, but because of the situation, it's important that we try to keep it as short as possible.
And how have civilians reacted to the ceasefire collapsing?
Everybody has question marks over their heads, including rebel forces. They thought that an agreement was in place, and then when some of the people tried to leave, Iranian Shia-backed militias stopped them and said that your agreement is between the Russians and the rebel forces. It doesn't have anything to do with us, nor does it have anything to do with the Syrian Arab Army. So the issue that's facing everyone right now is who is negotiating what? It's not clear. Are the Russians in charge? Are the Syrians in charge? The Iranians in charge? It's not clear.
And when the ceasefire was actually announced, what was going through your mind? Was you overjoyed? Were you scared, concerned? Tell us what was going through your mind at that time.
Well, I'll tell you what was going on through two different minds. My mind is different from the Syrian mind because I am not a native here in Aleppo, and I came here to stay for 2 or 3 days, and I've been here for 4.5 months. So you could imagine I was thinking that it would be a good idea to sleep in my own bed and get myself a nice hot plate of food. However, when you're looking at it from the side of the Syrians, one of the things that many people don't seem to understand is that many of these many of these fighters, they're fighting for their homes. Their wives and children are right here with them. So they're not necessarily fighting for land. They're fighting for their families. So they, after 5 years of fighting and bloodshed, they weren't so happy to leave. They knew that was pretty much what the situation was going to call for, but say that they were happy maybe to leave like I was thinking, I think the answer would be different.
Yeah. And your final message that you recorded reached a lot of people. Do you feel that message mobilized people? Because there's been a lot of discussion about an apathy towards the Syrian cause, about the situation in Aleppo. Like, what was going through your mind when you were recording that final message?
I would like to think that it's what galvanized a lot of people, but that might be a bit of bravado on my part. But I'm just not sure. I'd sure like to think that I had something to do with it, but Allah knows. As for what was going through my mind, it's a situation where the Syrian Arab Army, as many people have asked, what would be my situation if I were to be captured by them? They would probably shoot me. That's just the reality, because they're not friendly to journalists. They're less friendly to Western journalists. And here I come along, and they probably are like, we don't even know what to do with you. Should we cut your head off? Should we shoot you? Do both? Because anybody who doesn't support the Bashar al-Assad party line that they're fighting terrorists are considered to be terrorists. And I'm not going to report anything that I haven't seen. And I certainly haven't seen the Syrian Arab regime fighting terrorists and terrorism here in eastern Aleppo.
Now, as someone who's trapped in East Aleppo, You've become the unofficial spokesperson for the people of Aleppo in terms of raising awareness and highlighting the kind of difficult situations facing many Syrians who are currently besieged. Do you feel that you've now become a campaigning journalist? How do you feel about that?
Well, sometimes people will ask me, what are you? Are you a journalist or are you an activist? Well, let's put it this way. If I happen to be passing by and someone's coming out of a store and two guys come up and grab their bag and then they run away, they've stolen their stuff. Now, I'm a journalist and I report that. Now, I'm certainly not going to report that those people who stole their stuff had a right to it or they had a right to steal their stuff or whatever. I'm going to report what I saw. Does that make me an activist? Because I clearly saw aggression on the part of one party against another. I don't think that makes me an activist. I think it makes me a journalist. And so I think that that's what I am.
And some people have criticized you for interviewing particular factions or particular rebel groups in Aleppo. Some describe you as being a propagandist, as giving a platform to people who shouldn't be given a platform. How do you respond to that?
I respond to that by saying that my news organization, On the Ground News, OGN.news, is dedicated towards bringing you and bringing the people the information that they need to be able to make an intelligent decision in terms of who is who and what is what here on the ground. And that would entail that I have to do interviews with people that some people may not like. But my question would be to them would be, do you simply want to just get the information that your government wants you to have, or is it that you actually want the information that is for real so you can make your own determination? We're committed to that.
I don't want it to stay up too long because I know there are bombs exploding right next to where you are. In terms of the people of Aleppo right now, let's go back to the people of Aleppo. Many people are asking, why are they not leaving? Why are they staying? As someone who's living with them, like, what could you give us an insight into that?
Okay, leaving entails two things. You could either walk to the nearest checkpoint and to cross over into regime territory. If you do that, keep in mind, people have been very reluctant to do that because the regime has, in conservative estimates, killed more than 500,000 people. Do you think that they would mind adding an extra 1,000 or 2,000 to that number? Most people here in Aleppo don't think they would have a problem doing that. That's why there have been so many people, in spite of the very difficult conditions on this side of the divide, that they're not motivated to go over to regime-held territory. So the other thing that they could do is they could just stay right here. And that's what a lot of people have been doing. And they are in very difficult situations.
And what has been the most difficult part of living under siege in the last few months?
Bombs, no food. That's simple.
And like your final message spoke about the international community and especially the Muslim leaders, quote unquote, for example, Turkey, etc. and whatnot. If you were given the chance to speak to people like Erdogan and people who are the royal families in the Gulf, what would you say to them right now?
I would say to them, the first issue is that you can't fight terrorism by turning a blind eye to terrorism because it's state-sponsored. I will say that again. You can't fight terrorism by turning a blind eye to naked terrorism just because it's state-sponsored. When they get serious about that, then we're going to be serious about turning the corner. In addition to that, they have a responsibility, a human moral responsibility, and even before that, they have an Islamic responsibility to see that their neighbors, which are just 25 kilometers away from their troops, but yet they have not lent a single bullet towards breaking the siege. Now, the remaining neighborhoods here in eastern Aleppo could fall tonight. It could fall in a week or a month. Only Allah knows.
Yeah.
But the reality.
I can hear the bombs in the background, so I'll just ask the next question just to save you time. Sorry. And in terms of the infrastructure, we've heard reports that the white helmets have stopped operating in East Aleppo, and the injured are being left on the roads because no one is able to actually rescue them. Could you confirm these reports?
I can confirm that the white helmets are no longer functioning as they once were. All of their headquarters, I think except for one, were all targeted and destroyed.
Yeah.
So they don't have the vehicles. So when a house collapses on its occupants, they no longer have the heavy equipment to pull the people out of the rubble. So sometimes those people have to remain right where they are. Sometimes they're dead.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're not.
And a final question. How did it feel speaking to the hundreds who were outside the Syrian embassy in the UK? I was there in the crowds live streaming for Middle East Eye, and I heard your voice, and it was quite reassuring to know that you're doing well considering the circumstances. What was going through your mind when you could hear the crowd saying Allahu Akbar and cheering you on?
What it showed me are two things. One, the Muslim Ummah is strong, but a bit misdirected. Mm-hmm. Two, the people who are non-Muslim and all, who understand freedom, who understand right to self-determination, and the Muslim Ummah can get along just fine. Because I know all of those people out there were not all just Muslims.
Yeah.
I realize that what the Muslims need to do is to direct their anger and their rage towards the proper channels so that they can effect change.
Yeah.
Likes and Facebook tweets and what did I think I got that wrong? Facebook likes and tweets are not enough. And I think those people out there understand that.
Yeah.
So I would like to see them to be informed so that they can stay motivated with that information which is up to date and correct.
And as a final note, if you wanted to give a final message to people who are watching the live stream around the world, to the international community, what would it be?
It would be that, look, people, everyone knows what's happening here in Aleppo. Everybody knows that. So I would call upon everybody who could hear my voice to contact their government and to ask them, what are you doing for the people inside of Aleppo and the people in Syria? Because keep in mind, Aleppo is just one city. This is not the only city that this is taking place in. Just look at the numbers: more than 500,000 dead, more than 12 million displaced.
Okay.
This is a barn, you know, and people have got to get serious about their human rights.
I do apologize for cutting you off. I could hear the bombs in the background. Don't want to endanger your life anymore. Bilal Abdul Kareem, the last trapped journalist, left in East Aleppo. Thank you very much for speaking to Middle East Eye.
Thank you.